different issues that mean something to me, something to you, things that we need to pay attention to and just learn about. So that is what we get up to on Lagos Talks on this show every single day of the working week. Welcome into another interactive session. As always, my name is Ayokunmi. I'm great to have you join us this morning, bright and early on a Thursday. And today we'll be tackling a topic or a subject that is urgent and I think it's deeply unsettling. And it's happening right now on our phones and in all our digital lives in one way or another. We all talk about the promise of AI or artificial intelligence, how it will change business, art, work, and so on and so forth. But as with everything, there is a dark predatory side to this technology that is being actively used to harm, to silence, and also to violate women. My guests this morning are the storytellers who just pulled the curtain back on this digital nightmare. Their new documentary for Citizen by Zikoko, How Generative AI is Encouraging Online Sexual Harassment. It's a very powerful must-watch piece of journalism. So joining me in the studio this morning, producers of said documentary. First of all, let me introduce to you Dolapo Alabi. He's a video journalist and content producer with Big Cabal Media. Good morning to you, Dolapo. Great to have you in the studio.
Good morning. It's nice to be here.
Absolutely fantastic to have one of the brains behind the documentary. And of course, Fancy Goodman also in the studio this morning. She's a journalist and a content writer at Tech Cabal. Good morning to you, Fancy. Great to have you
Good
in.
morning. It's nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It wasn't a very difficult decision to actually make, looking at the content of the documentary, what it was all about. These are the things that we need to bring to the fore and spotlight on a very regular basis. And I will say that it's a very, very timely thing. Fancy, I'm going to start with you. Um, Let me just dial it back to the article that you wrote for Tech about that was back in July. Like that's one of the inspirations for this documentary. You know, that was the men undressing women with grok.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that piece was a bombshell, and it was even referenced in the documentary, as I mentioned. Now, take us back to when you wrote that. What did you uncover that made you realize that this wasn't just a, should I say, a fringe problem, but an epidemic that needed this sort of documentary treatment?
Okay. First off, I actually quote it. It wasn't an individual effort.
Hmm.
Um, some of our colleagues had come across tweets on X. In the tweets, let's say a lady posts her picture. Um, some men would go under the tweet and prompt Grok, which is the AI tool on
On
X,
X, yeah.
to it. They'll give Grok very weird prompts like undress her, turn her around, remove a piece of her clothing, and stuff like that. It was very alarming and it was shared with us. So we're going to look into it and write an article, and that was how we that was the journey into. We started reaching out to people looking for similar tweets, and yeah, we started doing the investigation before we wrote the article.
Hmm. I'm just trying to imagine the number of tweets and sort of prompts like that I actually saw. It must have been something that was very disturbing, and disturbing enough to get to this particular point or to that particular point where you had to write, the article. Dolapo, it's interesting, and looking at Fancy's point, it's exactly why video is so powerful. I mean, words are powerful, but when words are translated into video, it paints all those pictures so very clearly. You can see everything, all the corners, all the colors, and so on and so forth. Now, as a video producer, you know that some stories are just fine to read,
Mhm.
and it's just okay there. But this one, you clearly felt that we had to see it, we had to visualize it. What was it about the entire topic that just made you say this particular issue, it has to be made into documentary?
Okay, so I'm going to come off the bat of at Typical Citizen. We set out to create at least three documentaries this year, and we had created the first one. Coming off the topic we covered, which was sexual harassment of women, verbal sexual harassment of women. We were looking at the next story we should pick up, and this was the time when the rise in AI facilitated gender harassment
started, and it just piqued our interest. Like, okay, we cannot let this go by.
Mm,
We had to make a video on it. We had to make a documentary. And there's one thing we always say at my with my team members: videos travel faster. Videos will send the message across faster than um written articles. So my editor saw the story, or she was particular about us doing something about the story. And then we saw the article written by Fancy and Ife at Tech About. So we brought them on and we decided, okay, let's work on this together. Let's make a documentary. Let's spotlight this issue that is underreported. And on the surface level, we are not seeing lots of people talk about it outside of a particular social media platform. So we thought,
I was scared I would have to start all over again because that's work. I was scared I would have to start all over again. That's work.
sorry,
And we're back. Yeah.
thank you.
Alrighty, studio. All right, welcome back. This is Lagos Talks on a Thursday morning on Smooth 98.1. We love music and you know we love life as well. It's 18 minutes past 9 a.m. My name is Ayokunmi Kekereakun. Great to have you join us. And a very interesting conversation is what we're having today. We're talking about how generative AI is fueling harassment. Yes, people, that is a thing. So you definitely need to get on board. And in the studio this morning to talk about this particular issue, it's based off a documentary that spotlit this particular problem and brought it to the fore. Co-producers of the documentary in the persons of Dolapo Alabi, who is a video journalist and a content producer, as well as Fancy Goodman. She is a journalist and a content writer as well. Ladies, welcome back into the show. Once again, a pleasure to have you with me to talk about this particular issue, which is very disturbing. There's no way to actually describe it than being disturbing. The way people behave or think, it's I can't even begin to explain. But anyways, people join us on WhatsApp. You can send your messages, you can send your voice notes, you can even give us a call there. The number is 0911 999 0981. 0911 You can even send a voice note as well, but please try to limit the voice note to about 2 minutes or less. Or as they say, bad as a bad, 3 minutes max. And you can call us as well if you're in diaspora or you find it easier to call on WhatsApp, that's fine. If you want to call via the traditional method, the studio line is 0700 2255 981. 0700 2255 981. Those are the ways you can be a part of the show. Lagos Talks this morning. All right, Dolapo, I'm coming back to you right now. Now, let us look at what I feel is at the core of the film, the documentary that was made. And honestly, the trust that was built with the women in the film is incredible. Like for people to be able to sit down to have those sort of difficult conversations, a high level of trust was there. There's no doubt about that. Because I mean, how do you even begin to start that sort of conversation? Where do you start? How do you prompt it? How do you prod and all that? Now, how do you ask someone to share such a painful personal story on camera for the whole world to see? Because it's not just, oh, let's talk about it together in a room or something. The whole world would see that. How do you get someone to be able to come out comfortably to have that conversation?
All right. So this part of creating the documentary was the most difficult part. Convincing victims of this, what I call it, crime, was a very difficult task. We spent weeks on this. So what we did was we all had our task. When you see or when you find a victim of this, go and approach her and try to convince her or just understand our journey. And I believe that what made it a lot more better or easier was we were a team of women. So
Mm,
we were able to put ourselves in the shoes of the victims and start the conversation from there. Unfortunately, we had quite a number of victims that agreed at first, that, okay, they got comfortable enough to say, oh, yes, we want to share our story. And at the last minute, they'll pull out and change their mind.
ah,
So that was very difficult, and which is unfortunately a sad thing because they are carrying a shame that they should not carry. But we were able to, in fact, there was one of the victims we spoke to, and she had this much fire and rigor to come and speak about it. And she said, if I do not speak about this and or begin the change, well, nobody is going to do it. So I
Mm,
am more than willing to come and talk about it. She was even very. If you watch the documentary, you notice that we did not show the faces of the victims
yeah.
for anonymity, but she was ready to show her face. That was how convicted she was to tell the story and to deter people or future perpetrators of this act.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, it was I would also mention that it's also a vulnerable thing to do, and I have to commend the women that spoke to us because I put myself in their shoes. Looking at the kind of society we are in, it's almost difficult for somebody to agree. We also even reached out to a celebrity that was a victim of this,
Mm,
and our response also showed us that, oh, she doesn't want to share that. She doesn't want to share that vulnerable part
Mm-hmm.
of
her
her.
life on a documentary like this.
Okay, now I can probably just imagine how difficult it was for the women involved. But I mean, for both of you having to undertake this, how tough was it mentally and everything? Because of course it didn't happen to you, but you had to, you know, speak to these women. You had to get them to be comfortable. You had to understand where they were coming from. I mean, how tough was it for you guys as well to deal with?
Okay, I would first say that I am now numb to things like
Oh
this
wow.
because this is not the first rodeo. Like I said, we worked on a documentary earlier this year, and we titled it, or we call it the Ashewo documentary. When women come on to talk about how they have been slut shamed all their lives, and we had a 60-year-old woman come to talk about it, and she also is numb to
A
it.
60-year-old
A
woman.
60-year-old woman was in the video, and she's numb to it at this point. So because we cover stories like this, would I say I'm used to seeing things like this, especially coming from my background in the legal field where I've seen the most insane things happen,
Hmm.
or people do the most insane things. So I'll say I'm numb to it already. That I don't even, I say this thing that women should not carry the shame of the acts of men or perpetrators of this crime. So for me, it was like, oh, another day at work again. They have
Oh wow.
done the batching insane thing they are going to do.
Mm.
We are going to fish them out this time around. So yeah, that was how it felt for me personally.
Francis, do you also feel numb at this point, or is this new territory kind of for you?
It's new territory for me because I wouldn't say I have this background, and I think this is the first time in all my years of writing that I was handling something as sensitive. So it's very new to me. I think before we even did the documentary, while I was writing, I was very there's a word for it, a mix of irritation and annoyance. There's a word
Mm.
for it, I've forgotten. I think it's is it
Exasperated,
exasperated? Yeah, I
perhaps?
think it's exasperated. That was how I felt really. And even when we were doing the documentary, I think I still felt that way. There was someone we were interviewing, I've forgotten the particular person now, virtually. But as she was talking, I like over the we were not even seeing her face because it was not her video wasn't on, but you could feel
Yeah,
the pain in her voice. She was like,
yeah,
Mm.
"Why does it have to be women? Why is it always
yeah.
women?" Idiota, idiota, and I felt so bad. I felt so bad. I felt like I was one of the victims, really.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's not too difficult to actually put yourself in, those shoes because as you mentioned, you can hear all the emotion and everything in their voices, and it just touches you in a different way. And that actually leads me to what is usually the fallout of all this. The real offline damage that this sort of abuse does
Mm-hmm.
to a person's life. I mean, can you just give us, a bit about that?
Okay. Um, before I even go to the damage, I must start with the fact that though this is being done with AI now, sexual harassment has always been there and it
Mm,
starts offline. AI is not the AI is just the enabler. It just amplifies what like already exists. So one of the disadvantages and the effects it has on women, like I said earlier this week, because earlier this week I was at News Central when they asked me, what I said was, it's very easy to think it's just about posting a picture online, but it has it has a way it spreads to other areas in a woman's life. For instance, we can be doing a very harmless video for social media at my workplace, and at the back of my mind I have it that this video can be taken in 1 hour, in an hour's time, and be altered.
Hmm.
And as a result, I will tell them I don't want to be part of the campaign. That is at my workplace. My colleagues might not understand where I'm coming from, but if peradventure that had happened to my sister before, I would be like, I don't want to appear in any video for the company.
It'll be ringing in your head.
Yes, yes. So this is one of the effects it has on women, that I would no longer even want to contribute to public discourse. So it has a way of also silencing my voice, apart from me deciding not to post pictures online. I would feel because I'm not respected, I should not contribute to any discourse. Because apart from my pictures being altered, which is another thing I want to mention, AI facilitated sexual harassment is not just about pictures. Now we have AI can be used to alter my voice to change what I said. So it's not just about using AI to alter my pictures in a sexually provocative way. It can be used, it can be done, with my voice. So it's not just about that. So it has a way of affecting women in every sphere.
Just to digress a little bit here, when you mentioned a picture, a video being altered, it just took me back to just yesterday. The whole debacle between FCC Minister Wike and the naval officer. I already seen AI generated videos of them, let me say, fighting or sparring.
Oh, I saw that.
It was one of the most ridiculous things ever. Now,
Extremely
from a
ridiculous.
comedic perspective, yes, but just imagine anyone, and not to take away from our conversation, it could be man, woman, or whatever. It could be a harmless video, and then it's turned into something of a parody. It just points to the fact that yes, AI is such a wonderful thing, but it can be used for the most dastardly acts when in the wrong hands. And unfortunately, we live in a world where anyone can get their hands on this particular tool. And that really scares me now. I'm thinking, do I want to post videos on social media anymore? Because I mean, a harmless video, a harmless picture, you never can tell what's going to happen. That is why this needs to be amplified. Let's take another break. And when we come back, we'll be diving into the systemic gaps and just, take things to the next level on this conversation here on Lagos Talks News 98.1. Don't go anywhere.
What did you say? The Wiki and the soldiers video.
Very
I saw the
ridiculous.
video.
Very, very ridiculous.
It's insane.
Y'all don't even waste time.
It's insane. And one of the things we do as the Coco Citizen is fact checking you. And yesterday we fact checked an AI video of Shetima. They took a picture of it from 2016 and generated it to a video of him saying that. So not Shetima, former governor of Borno State, Sheriff Mojo. And in that video, it was a picture of him they took and then turned it to an AI video of him saying it was Shetima that created Boko Haram.
How do you fact check it? What tool do you use? How would you know it's AI?
So what we do first is, most of the time, this news comes with pictures. So we do this reverse image search and we find where that picture or video was posted.
How do you do that?
There's a tool that we use in Verify. That's the name.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. I spent hours yesterday fact checking that story. So you go deep and you find, so when you now find where it was first posted, you now understand the story behind it. And then you now start debunking, seeing the loopholes here and there.
Because the amount of misinformation that is out
I think
there.
the general
I think
public also
everybody-
needs to learn how to do this. How to
Because
use that
I've seen a number of videos, and then maybe in the comments or something, like, no, it's AI. And I'm like,
This is AI.
no,
Yeah.
it can't be AI. It looks too good.
It's so crazy because
It's
if
gotten
media
better
people
then.
can't
Tell the
decipher,
difference.
now imagine the average person.
It has gotten worse by the day.
Hmm. All right, welcome back into Lagos Talks. It's a Thursday morning. This is Smooth 98.1. You know, we love music, we love life, we love to have important conversations as well. And this morning, it doesn't get any more important than talking about AI and how it is being used to fuel harassment. Yes, it is happening. If you are living in a bubble, you need to pop that bubble and get back into the real world because generative AI is fueling harassment. A lot of things are happening online, and this is where we need to have discussions about. We're having this conversation off the back of an amazing documentary that was done by Citizen by Sikoko, and it talks about this issue. And I have two of the producers with me in the studio. I mean, who better to talk about this than those who are at the forefront of the whole film? Fancy Goodman and Dolapo Alabi are with me this morning, and you get to join us as well. Hey, if you know anyone who has been harassed, anyone that has an experience like this, you can share with us. You can also share your perspective when it comes to AI and all this. The WhatsApp number to send a message to send a voice note to, and to give us a call on as well. It's 0911 999 0981. 0911 999 0981. The studio line, that's the more traditional way to give us a call. It's 0700 22 55 981. 0700 22 55 981. Okay, Fancy, I'm coming back to you right now. Now, you pointed out in the film, and quite rightly, that here in Nigeria, at least, we seem to be treating AI like it's this shiny new toy.
Mm-hmm.
And really and truly, I have to admit, I treat it like that as well. You know, we focus on all the good stuff. I think we like to put all the bad stuff in the back like it doesn't really exist because it does so much good stuff, but it has the bad side of it as well. Why do you think there's such a huge, would I say, disconnect? Why are leaders, why are those who are supposed to be tech leaders and so on and so forth seemingly overlooking this dark side of things?
I do think it's because there's a lot to gain in terms of profit from
Hmm.
from in terms of monetary. I mean,
Monetary gain.
yeah, monetary gain rather from AI. So they've not started focusing on um ways to regulate it very well yet. I know that tech about. There's also an article I quote about AI and the forthcoming elections
Mm, mm.
because it's a thing. I feel like everyone is not talking about it yet because elections is not in the air yet, but soon. Maybe it's next year. Everyone will start doubling down on something needs to be done about AI because there's a lot political parties would use AI for.
I can just I can just imagine.
Exactly. So, like someone said earlier in the week during a conversation, the person said, maybe, I mean, the way it always is in Nigeria, maybe it's when the family member of a politician is affected or a politician himself is affected. Maybe that's when they will start looking for things to do about that. But sadly, we like there's still a lot to be done.
Mm. But like we're talking about a lot being done, this is where we need to bring the legal aspect of things into play. Thank goodness that you are in the studio to actually, jump on this one, because as was mentioned in the film, our laws are lagging way behind. Which is true of many things that are more in quotes modern. We haven't really caught up with the new innovations and whatever. Maybe because, as Fancy mentioned, there's something to gain from it and not criminalize and so on and so forth. Story for another day entirely. I mean, activists are literally writing manuals for the police because they just don't know what to do. So, from what you saw, is anyone in the justice system actually equipped to deal or handle these issues right now, or are we on our own?
I would say we are. I wouldn't say we are on our own. First, the legal system, the law is lagging behind when it even comes to sexual harassment on it. So not to even
Ah,
talk about AI sexual
let's start
harassment.
from there.
That's more advanced.
Let's even like it starts from sexual assault, sexual harassment. We are getting cases that are not. We don't get justice for it, and now we are now going to AI that's literally just started. Nigeria's legal system, would I say, can be very slow when it comes to addressing issues like this. Granted, we have the Cyber Crimes Act, we have the Nigerian Data Protection Act that protects people from online harassment or defamation and other crimes like that, but they don't cover things like sextortion. They don't cover things like deepfakes. And
Hmm.
deepfakes was even in existence before these AI generated videos and pictures even started. So there is a lot to be done. But thankfully we have civil societies that are doing something. When you watch the documentary, we spoke to someone from TECA and Tech Societal, and they shared what they are doing now that we don't have laws to do anything. I know Tech Societal has a platform called Lobrera, where if you have been sexually harassed online or just gone through anything, you can come and meet them and they
Okay.
will get lawyers to help you out. So in as much as we don't have laws yet, I'm glad that we have civil societies that are doing something. And this, while we are waiting for the justice system or the legal system to do something, I'm also glad that some people in society are actively doing something. When you watch the documentary, we spoke to one of our colleagues that went the extra mile to ensure that one of the perpetrators faced some sort of punishment. And this was when she tweeted about it. She went to go and look for the guy's employers
on LinkedIn
on LinkedIn
and
and
discover.
called him out. And when the guy was applying for a job, the employers went to do a background check, saw this that she had posted, and they did not pick him for the job. So I
Hmm.
believe that that's something we as a society, while we are still waiting for the government to do something, let's start doing what we can do now because I'm gonna wait here if you're waiting for them. Election is next year. They are focused on something else at the moment, on which is a very sad reality for Nigerians.
Hmm.
But that is where we find ourselves in right now.
That's where we find ourselves right now. Now, this leads me to just getting off the expressway very briefly. That for everyone out there who uses social media, you need to be careful about what you put out there.
Mm-hmm.
You might have your thought processes, you might have your beliefs, you might have certain things that you hold that are what you live by. They may not exactly be the most kosher at the end of the day. So keep those thoughts in your head, or best case scenario, if you want to talk about it, write it in a diary or something and keep it in your room. What you put out online, even though you think you've deleted, it can still come back to haunt you. Which is why these days I'm very careful. I just very jovial on social media. I'll say happy guy and all that. Let's not play any funny games. But Dolapo, as you mentioned now, we have a failure in tech, we have a failure in justice at the moment. Now, this is where I would say that our work comes into play. Journalism, it's very, very important. Now, you mentioned in the documentary that, and I'm quoting here, being a woman informed the way I treated this story. And that was okay, that was fancy, sorry.
Yes.
And that was actually quite profound. Now, could you tell us a bit about how your own perspective shaped the way the film was made?
Okay. I do think I was more um solution oriented while making the documentary. Yes, these things exist. These things have happened, but what would be the contribution of the documentary to society if we just say everything that has happened and stop there?
Hmm.
We have to say what is the way forward, which is why like Dolapo mentioned earlier, we spoke to women from two different non-profit organizations that this is what they do. They make sure the perpetrators pay for their crimes. So one of the women we spoke to from Sex Societal, I know that she mentioned a couple of ways to go about this. One of the things she said is take it down. There's a website called Take It Down. If
Okay.
yes, so if something like this exists, let's say I make a tweet, someone responds, prompts AI an AI tool to do nasty things. I can go to the website, report it. There will be people to work on it and make sure there's no digital footprint of it anywhere on the internet
Yeah,
ever again, including
Ah.
they'll go as far as WhatsApp groups.
yeah.
WhatsApp groups, they take everything down, Telegram, everything. There will be no trace, no sign that it ever existed in the first place. So I think that was I'm a very solution oriented person. Yes, you are telling me problems, but okay,
How,
there are million and one
how do we
problems
fix
in the
them?
world. How do we fix them? That should be that should be the conversation we're having.
Yeah.
So that was the approach I had when working with the Zikoku citizen team. That was the approach I had to the documentary. That yes, so I think I was more focused on the solution rather than the problem. Yes, there have been no laws put in place by these platforms or the government, but there are people that are doing things about them. So let's talk about these people. So that was coming from me, that was what shaped how I approached everything, the scripting, the documentary as a whole.
Huh, interesting perspectives there. Okay, now I mean we've looked at what can be done to a degree from the human side, but how about from the AI side of things? Because as long as people are still able to put in those prompts, oh, do this, do that, and so on and so forth, when does it end? Dolapo, when does it end? I mean, will we ever get to a point where the developers of these AI tools and all that are also up to scratch with, hey, our tools are being used to do these things, or we need to find a way that where these prompts are put in. I mean, I think many AI tools now they don't give medical advice, they don't give is it legal or financial advice or something like that. I mean, why can't it be applied in this way as well?
Okay, so when you watch the documentary, somebody said something very interesting. Now, this harassment happened majorly on Twitter, X, the
Mm,
platform. And she said during the last regime, you would get banned for doing something less. And I don't know what to say, but when the new administration of the owner of Twitter came in,
mm,
everything just went everywhere. You can say you can put random words and you won't get shadow banned.
Mm.
And prior to that, it wasn't that way. So I'm trying to spotlight the fact that it's insane that the developers of these tools did not look into certain words that should never be imputed into their into the platform that should come out as an AI generated image. And one central thing we were discussing in the documentary was safety by design.
Mm-hmm.
And this layman terms, this means that when you're creating something, when you're creating a tool,
mm.
ensure that you are thinking about how people can use this tool for something else. So when you put in words, I know there is an AI tool called Gemini. If you
Yeah.
put in a word that connotes violence, Gemini will flag it down for you and say no language to that. And it's quite sad that Grok did not have this tool, this feature that when you put in anything that sexually harasses someone or you put in any words that has sexual connotation in a way, it would flag it down. But I think Grok has they've updated it. I'm not so sure about it. I think they've updated their terms. But I do believe that another thing that we believe is when we have women in spaces where decisions are made. So, take for example, my editor would say that she doesn't understand why we have white bed sheets in hotels. That if a woman was on her period and she goes to an hotel, she wouldn't want to lie down on a white bed sheet. Same thing with when
Mm.
you're creating it too. It may not come to the mind of people creating that. What if somebody prompts something sexual? Okay, let's ensure that any word, any keyword like this, like uh turn her around, remove her clothes, undress this, like words like that will be flagged down by the tool. So we believe that when developers or people just making the decision of creating this tool ensure that they think of all the insane thing, everything that could go wrong with this tool. They think about it
Everything
and
needs to be
ensure
factored in.
yes,
Yes.
everything needs to be factored in when creating it. So yeah, I also liken AI to a knife because when you hold a knife and you go to a kitchen, what are you using the knife to do? To cook. But you can also use it to cause bodily harm and
Of
damage.
course, of
So that's the
course.
same thing with AI. That's what I like in AI too. But it's just sad that that's the reality we're in right now.
That is the world we're living in right now, a scary world, but a world that we need to navigate in one way, shape, or form. Let's take a final breather, and then when we get back in, Fancy and Dolapo will begin to just wrap it up for us and tie it into a nice little bow this morning here on Lagos Talks. See you on the other side. Out of curiosity, were there any men who were harassed, or it was?
We didn't see.
We didn't see actually.
I'm not
Maybe they were,
surprised.
but we didn't come
But we
across.
didn't come across any. this took us like 2 months to create. I mean,
It's
this
over 2 months, so
actually
something that we're gingering ourselves that don't worry, in 3 weeks we'll be
will
done.
be done.
Okay,
It was way difficult than we thought. It was really hard.
So, how are you guys able to find these women specifically?
searching.
Majorly through Twitter. So Twitter, we would. So what my idea was, I would sit down, pick this day. Okay, start going through Twitter, start looking at different things that happened, and then when I eventually see, write the person's name down, look for a way to get the person's contact information. Actually, first through Twitter, and then the conversation can go for 2 weeks before the
More
person
than 2 weeks,
eventually decides that okay, please, okay, I'll talk to you, and then they
some people
eventually say
last
no,
minute they
they are not doing it
I'm
anymore.
not doing
So it was really, although one of the victims, it was just so we got someone to come to the studio for a different show, and I know her, she's a big person on Twitter, and she has always been harassed on Twitter. So she just sent me a picture of another person that, oh, this person has also been sexually harassed using AI. And that was one of the people we had on. But it was really hard. It was really, really hard to get people to speak with us because we saw plenty. But Kende Bankole was a victim of it. There were different
Even when
people.
we told them we'll blur your face, we'll mask your voice. I know they do.
And in the documentary we did, but we had actors coming. So it was just their voice recording we used. So we had actors coming to dramatize them speaking because they didn't want to be. They didn't want
You just,
even we
you
had
just
the
did not want to be
documentary fully
connected at
done.
all.
We had the documentary fully done, about to upload it on the Saturday morning, and one of them called back and said we should move our picture. I remember very,
Then
very
you
well.
rendered, you rendered everything.
Yes, she came back and she was like, my editor said, Dolapo, we need to take this. She does not want to be in it anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was after there were snippets on social media.
After, on the day we were uploading
So,
it.
so how did you guys work around that?
I don't even know how we did it, but we did it. We made it happen.
You all want to play with the lawsuit too.
This is my first time working on something like this, honestly. I've taken plenty notes. I've taken plenty notes.
All right, final moments. Alrighty, final moments of Lagos Talks this Thursday morning. A very, very poignant and insightful conversation we're having, talking about AI and how it's been used to fuel harassment. Yes, the AI that we use to make our lives easier and do all sorts of things. There are some people who use them on the dark side, and that's the conversation that we've been having so far in the studio. I've been enjoying myself on one hand, and of course, learning. It's all about learning. It's very, very, very key. I still have with me Fancy Goodman and Dolapo Alabi with me. They are co-producers of the documentary, How Generative AI is Fueling Harassment. And this is something that we need to definitely bring to the fore. Let me take a message here from Stan. Stan, you wrote a thesis piece for me. But anyways, let me see. Stan says, AI with a number of exclamation marks. The necessary evil, though important in every endeavor in our current life, job, education, and so on, but still has its evil in terms of cheating the financial systems, enhancing fraud, malpractice, and so on. No matter what level of evil it does, it's still beneficial in every aspect of our endeavors. Even the phones we use, AI does 80% of our tasks that we might not know. For example, typo errors, corrections, search engines, and even contact sourcing, and so on and so forth. It's called artificial for a reason, meaning it's created by humans and not natural. In my opinion, if possible, find whomever that committed the crime and hold him responsible, not the AI used in making said crime. I mean, Dolapo, would you look at it from that perspective? That's Stan's opinion on the matter. I mean, what do you think that the person who held the knife, get the person, not necessarily the knife in question?
Yeah, I do agree about getting the perpetrator because he's the one that had the bad thoughts and the bad intentions and executed it with it. So, but in as much as we are going to, we don't have the laws to catch these perpetrators, Scarlett.
Hmm.
So if we can ensure that the tools are not even there for them to use to carry out their insane act, then that's fine. So it's a nuanced what would I say? It's a nuanced decision at the end of the day. Yes, we are going to catch the perpetrators, but at the same time, we need to ensure that these tools cannot be used. These tools should not be used to carry out this kind of acts.
Hmm. Very, very important. All right, thank you for that, Dolapo. And we need to wrap it all up, but I'll let you guys, chip in with your final thoughts on this one, your perspectives, advice. Let me start with you, Fancy.
Okay. I want to add to what Dolapo said. In response to the WhatsApp message we got about the perpetrator being held rather than soul, I want to say I'm not 100%. I don't 100% agree with that. Let's say we use the example of a knife. Yes, everyone has knives in their houses, but that doesn't mean knives are allowed everywhere. For
Yeah.
instance, if you enter a boarding school, they'll tell you no sharp objects allowed.
Yes.
There's some private universities they'll tell you no sharp objects are allowed. There's still regulations for something like a knife that everyone uses. You can't, for instance, put a knife in your bag and pass through the door of a bank that detects objects like that and say, "Oh, I just want to make a transaction." They'll tell you to drop your bag somewhere else. That is the way AI should be. Same applies with guns, for instance.
Yeah.
Guns might be an extreme example because it's not as widely used as knives in our homes. But look at a place like America, for instance. You still have to be licensed.
Mm,
So once regulations are not put in place, abuse is inevitable, to
Yeah.
be very
it's
honest.
free for all.
Yes, abuse is inevitable. Yes, the perpetrator should be held, but there should still be regulation. Once there's no regulation about things in a society, best believe things will go wrong. So that's just my take.
Mm.
That's my take on
All
it.
right, Dolapo, before you get your final words in, as Stan says, it's not fine to stop the tools because the tools are a source of some people's life earning legally and even the country's technological and innovative growth source. I agree with that 100%, but I think the argument is that the ability to be able to use that tool in that particular way is the
Mhm.
question here.
Yes.
I think that is the main question because some, of course, people will use it for their legal work, for making money and so on, to make their
Yes.
lives easier. But there are people that will be thinking, what nefarious way can I use this thing
Mm-hmm.
today?
Yes.
I think that's the bone of contention, and it's AI. It's made by people. You can
It's
block.
not going anywhere.
You
AI
can
is not.
block. You can block its use
Mm-hmm.
in that particular way. I think that's the main thing that we need to focus on. But Dolapo, let me let you get your thoughts in as we wrap up.
Okay, so to wrap up, I would say that we as a society need we need to come together and speak out whenever we see anyone use AI tools for evil, devious acts. Because I believe evil thrives with silence.
Hmm.
When you keep quiet and mind your business, as long as it's not me, it will come and touch you at the end of the day. One way or the other, it will find its way to your desk. If you think it can never be me, oh, I'm sorry, it will be you one day. So
Hmm.
ensure that you speak out whenever you see, and just like our colleague that went the extra mile to ensure somebody doesn't get a job, ensure you do this, and also make sure that you don't hold shame on victims' heads. Let the shame be only on a perpetrator that has been caught in this regard. And we are not stopping here. We are not just ending it here with the documentary. If you think that, oh, they've already done documentary, they're just doing blah blah blah. No, people are actively working to ensure that things like this don't happen anymore. For instance, we as Coco Citizen are launching a dashboard that would help people fact check any image or videos they see that will be, it's actually going to be released later this month.
Okay.
So ensure that you as a person, you are ensuring victims are safe, and just ensure that it doesn't happen anymore. So call out any evil thing you see, call the person out to their face, even if they're your family members. Ensure, let them know that what they're doing is evil. And if you're a perpetrator, you're a terrible person, just know that the law is going to get to you one way or the other. We are going to catch on to you one way or the other.
Hmm. Thank you so very much for those words. Now, before I let both of you go, even though I would love to continue this conversation, Dolapo, for those who are listening, for those who are watching on YouTube and all that, who would love to, get across to you, talk to you, and probably, rub minds on this issue and a whole lot more, where can they find you on your social media, your Instagram, X, and so on and so forth?
Okay, so on all social media platforms, I am Dollar Sama, Dolasama, Dollar Sama on Instagram, Twitter, Okay, I don't use Facebook. Instagram, Twitter. But yeah, you
You
can
revealed
get
your
me
age.
there.
That's a very Gen Z thing to say. I don't use Facebook.
But yeah, if you want to have a conversation around this, or you want to see the documentary, you can definitely catch it on Zikoko Citizen on all social media platforms as well.
All right, fancy.
Okay, on Instagram and Twitter, it's my name, V Fancy Goodman. So Fancy Fancy, then my surname Goodman, Goodman.
Alrighty, there you have it, Lagos. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning. And I will have to say, thank you to both of you for your courage, your empathy, and for bringing this very important story to the light. You all are doing amazing stuff.
Thank you very
Thank
much. Thank you for having
you.
us.
Thank you for having us.
Alrighty, and for everyone out there, the documentary is called "How Generative AI is Encouraging Online Sexual Harassment." And as Dolapo says, I would urge you to take a look at the documentary. You can find it on Citizen by Zikoko's YouTube channel, and just understand better what we're talking about, what we talked about today. All right, my name is Ayokunmi Kekiriakon. Thank you once again for being a part of the show. This has been Lagos Talks on the Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. Keep it tuned.
Yay.
The Smooth Breakfast.
Lord.
And Sarah.